Let's talk about modding some skirt boards into our riser boards for trimming out our stairs. So right here, I did a set of steps back in the summer, and I showed a video on how tight I got my modders for my skirt board and my riser boards. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that and show you guys how I did that today. So right here on my skirt board, one thing that I need to do, and I'll show you later, but I've got to take this thickness off of my plumb cut on my skirt board, and then since I've already got my decking down here, I need to take the thickness of my decking off. So let me go show you guys how I mark that out. Alright guys, so when you're marking your skirt boards out, the first thing you need to do is figure out which way you're going to put your board, or which way the boards are going to go, or what side of the board you want showing. So in this case, the back of my board has got a wood texture and this side slick. I want my wood texture out, so in my case I need to mark this layout on the back of this piece so that the wood grain is on the front. But with that being said, modding our risers, that means that this is the short point. These riser lines I have are the short point of my modder. So that means that it's going to grow on the front. I marked this line right here an inch and a half in to start marking my rise and run off of. That way whenever I modder these, I don't have a flat spot up here from the edge of this board, and I'll show you guys what I mean later. So I marked my rise and my run. If you guys remember from my last video, my rise is 7 1/8 and my run's 10 1/2. So that's what I've got marked out. So this is my top plumb cut right here. Alright guys, so this is my top plumb cut. This was what the original cut would be if I didn't have my fascia board wrapped and I wasn't setting it against whatever that thickness of that wrap is. So I'm going to take the thickness of that off right here from my original plumb cut, and that's going to be the actual line that I cut for the top of this stringer. Alright guys, so that's the line that I'll cut for my top plumb cut. Let's move on down to the bottom. So this is my original layout, 7 1/8, 10 1/2 right here. So this is my bottom line. I'm gonna extend that on out here. So if I didn't already have my decking on, I wouldn't have to worry about this step, but since I have my decking down and the bottom of this right here is sitting on my decking, I need to take the thickness of that off on my skirt board as well, which is 1 inch. So I'm taking 1 inch off the bottom of this. So that's the line that I'll cut right there for that. Alright guys, so let's moving along. Let's talk about modding these riser lines right here. Okay, so DeWalt makes 2 saws. They make, well actually they probably make a couple saws, but this is the smaller circular saw that they make, and this is the regular saw they make. So the regular saw they make bevels to the right. This saw, as you can see, bevels to the left. A lot of people like to call this a left-handed saw. It's a little bit smaller in size. So whenever you're modding your riser lines here, this is the short point. My modder needs to come out this way. So you can't always use this saw. For me to be able to use this saw to get my modders right, I would have to be able to cut like this. So, you know, I can't use this saw for my situation right here. So that's why you have to use DeWalt's left-handed saw. That way you can be able to cut and modder your riser lines here that you got marked out the right way for your risers boards to fit into that. And this will all make sense to you guys later once I get it installed. Just follow with me. Okay guys, so don't forget your bottom line is your bottom riser, so that needs to be moddered too. Let's go ahead and start off by moddering that one first. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and cut this excess of this board off that we don't need. Let's cut our line here that we marked 1 inch up to take off for our decking. Alright, let's take our top excess off up here. Let's cut our plumb cut here. Alright guys, since we've got the top of our stringer cut and the bottom, let's go put it up here and see how it's going to fit. We might have to adjust our rise and run a little bit just to fit our stringer. So let's go check it out and see how it looks. Okay guys, so the toe right here is open about 1/4 inch. So let's take 1/4 inch off the back here to nothing on the front, and it'll allow this skirt board to sit down where it needs to. Let's go check it again, guys. See how much that helped us out. Okay guys, you can see it helped us out tremendously down here, and we're sitting on the front about where we need to be sitting at. So let's take a look on the inside here at our layout mark. Okay guys, you can see we're off just a little bit. Most of them are pretty close, but we're off just a little bit. But since we want this skirt board to be exactly what our stringer is, let's go ahead and just trace the stringer on to our skirt board here. And by the way, if you guys haven't gave these DeWalt quick clamps a try them out. They work pretty good. They're pretty heavy duty. They hold pretty good. I mean, they're definitely not like a pipe clamp or a bar clamp or anything like that. You wouldn't be able to, build tables with them. Well, they might help in some situations, but for a quick clamp, a good, all-around clamp, I think they're pretty good. All right, so let's go finish cutting our skirt board out. Okay, you guys can see here that our original layout was off just a little bit from our stringers. So these inside lines here is what we just traced. So let's go ahead and cut those and so that it can be exactly what our stringer is. Okay guys, so I'm gonna miter my risers here, and here in just a minute after I get all this cut, this will make sense to you guys why I marked this line here and moved up and started my layout off the edge of my board. Guys, keep in mind when you're cutting these, you don't want to cut farther than your line right here. You'll see that in the front. You also don't want to cut all the way right here, because if the depth of your blade is too far, you'll cut into the front of your miter. See, if you kept going, then you would cut back here into the front of your miter. You don't want to do that. I'll finish that with a jigsaw or a multi-tool. See right here, guys, how this was my short point. This is the line I marked. My long point's up here on the front. If I wouldn't have marked the 1.5 in and marked my layout on that 1.5 line, then I'd have a flat spot right here. See, look, guys, here it is. We got our miters here. All we have to do is put our skirt boards in. So there it is. Sand the corners, a little paint, you'll never know. It'll look good. Boom, there it is, guys. Top miters.